first, but I'm going to do the gentlemanly thing and let the ladies go first. So they're going to get 5 minutes to answer this question, but before we do that, why don't we start with an opening statement from each candidate, and you each get 5 minutes for an opening statement.
Can everyone hear me? Yes. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming here tonight. My name is Lynne Archambault. Joe Biden asked at one of his very few press conferences, "What are Republicans even for?" In that very insulting statement, he further divided our country. So I want to answer those questions of what Republicans are for tonight by asking you all some questions. Have you or someone you've known in the past few years been afraid to say who you voted for or how you felt about a subject?
Yes.
I have. I'm a teacher. Republicans are for freedom. I believe in the U.S. Constitution and free speech. I'm tired of hearing conservatives be afraid to stand up and say what they're for. Are you comfortable with your child or grandchildren being taught that they should be guilty for the color of their skin, or worse, be that they're a victim for their color of their skin? No. I will stand up to teaching critical race theory in our public schools. Republicans are for great education. And I'm all for teaching our history, the good, the bad, the ugly. But I'm against teaching dangerous ideology and theory in our schools. Do you have faith in a country where there could be massive voter fraud? No. Republicans believe in fair elections. It is fair to ask for a photo ID when you vote. It is not fair to give a driver's license to illegal immigrants, inviting them to vote in the state of Massachusetts. Do you feel safe in our cities across the country going out to dinner with escalating crime rates? We need to defend, not defund our police. Some retail shops in Massachusetts right now are telling their employees, if they're leaving with stuff they haven't paid for, just let them go. Don't even call the police. This has got to stop. Do you know a veteran or a senior who is suffering because of escalating property taxes and the high cost of living? Yes. We need to protect our vets and our seniors. We owe our veterans. Do you believe in the American dream? Republicans believe in the American dream. We've all seen the American dream happen. But with the high price of fuel, record inflation, escalating housing costs, the American dream is failing for our young families. This state has a very high tax burden. We need to lighten that load for the citizens of Massachusetts. The estate tax right now is one of the worst in the country, and now they're proposing a millionaire's tax, which is going to drive out more businesses from our state. Our state is already losing record numbers of families and businesses. We need to bring that to create a thriving economy. As a mother who raised 3 beautiful children, as a teacher at North Middlesex High School here in town, and as a successful business owner, local business owner in Pepperell, I feel I bring a unique perspective to being your next state rep. I believe I'll be a strong leader. And let me ask you one final question. Are you happy with the state of our Commonwealth today? No. If the answer is no, please vote for me on September 6th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynne. Next, Andrew Shepard from Townsend.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the Pepperell Town Republican Committee for setting this up this evening. You know, I'd like to begin by giving you a little bit of background about myself, because clearly I'm the unknown candidate at this event tonight. Now, I'm born and raised in Townsend. I come from a family that for the past 100 years have worked in the district in a variety of jobs, whether it's farming, firefighting, teachers, social workers, business owners. We have a long tradition of service to our Commonwealth and for our local area. I think one thing that is particularly unique about my candidacy is that I'm the only candidate in the race that has experience at Beacon Hill. I've worked with State Representative Sheila Harrington and Governor Charlie Baker. With Representative Harrington, I learned what it takes to be an effective state legislator. I know the demands of the job, and I know how to work the system and deliver results for our area. With Governor Baker, I got to see the executive side of the coin. What does it take from the top to have effective legislators? How do you work across the aisle to get things done for the district? Because at the end of the day, it's not saber rattling. What matters is that you can go down to Beacon Hill and deliver results, that you can bring money back and you can get bills passed. And that's what's most important for the state representative. Now, one thing that I think sets me apart, as a candidate, is I'm a working class guy. In the town of Townsend, I own my own business, Bayberry Hill Water Company. It's a 5-gallon water jug delivery service. And I'll tell you, I know uniquely the pains people are dealing with throughout this economy. I know what it's like to struggle to make a payroll. I know what it's like to struggle to find supplies and parts that you need to fix machines that you're relying on to make your money and keep your employees happy and keep food on your table. Another piece of work that I do in Townsend is I'm fortunate to work on my family business and our family farm. In the family farm, we do about 300 acres of hay, and we raise about 1,000 turkeys. Now, working on the farm, one thing I'm going to bring to this district and to this seat is that farmer's work ethic. Sun up to sundown. I tell people, I'm the guy that's out in that turkey pen, I'm the guy that's shoveling that turkey shit. And I'm ready to go down to Beacon Hill and shovel the shit down on Beacon Hill for our district. Working with the family business. I project manage about 3,000 feet of municipal water line that we put in West Townsend. I am directly familiar with local contracts and state bidding and public work. In addition, we're fortunate, we're building the Groton Hill Music Center in Groton, and I know uniquely the value that this project is going to have for the district and the economic improvements that's going to come to the whole district. And we need to make sure we have a representative that is focused on the local issues and understand what's coming down the pike and how our district can improve and just get better. Another thing that I think uniquely qualifies me is my time as a call firefighter in the district. I have seen people at their worst, from mental health issues, medical emergencies. Their home is burning down. It makes me uniquely prepared with empathy to understand where people are coming from in a time of need and how to respond to it. So everybody, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you. Thank you, and I look forward to your participation and your questions.
Well, thank you both. Great opening statements. All right, we're going to get started. Question number one, we're going to direct this one to Lynne first, and then the second question will be directed to Andrew when we move on to question number two. Question number one, the Massachusetts legislature recently passed a bill that substantially changes our voting laws, including early voting and voting by mail. Are you in favor or against this bill, and the reasons for your position?
I am against the bill in that I do believe there should be absentee voting, but you should request the ballot. When they send out mass ballots, there is just the possibility of fraud is so strong. If you've seen the documentary 2,000 Mules, you'll see what can happen with mass mail-in ballots. My daughter lives in New Hampshire, registered voter in New Hampshire, received a ballot in Massachusetts. It's not a good idea, so I am against having mass mail-in ballots.
Andrew, would you like to respond to her answer?
As in a question to Lynn, or?
Yes, as a question to
answer
Lynn.
myself?
No, we'll give you that opportunity as well. But
Okay,
first,
sure.
if you'd like to question Lynn on her stance.
So Lynn, with the recent Massachusetts Supreme Court ruling on this issue, where do you think the Massachusetts Supreme Court is wrong with the universal voting bill?
What's the matter?
Is that how that works?
Yeah. And then Lynn, the rebuttal.
Okay.
When we have widespread mail-in ballots, we are trusting our U.S. Post Office, which, no offense, there's just too many problems. When we give out too many ballots, we are inviting voter fraud. We need to have one ballot per person. You go to the ballot box. We need to not have widespread mail-in ballots. Unless you request it, there are reasons if you need our absentee ballot.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Now, Andrew, I'll repeat the question for you.
Sure, thank you.
The Massachusetts legislature recently passed a bill that substantially changes our voting laws, including early voting and voting by mail. Are you in favor or against this bill, and the reason for your position?
I am against this bill, and I think as we're learning with this format, I probably phrased my question, we're still working on it. So, in the Massachusetts Constitution, there's 3 instances that allow for mail-in voting. And it's if you're out of town, it's if you're physically disabled, or if you have a religious-based conflict with Election Day. I think it is extremely clear in the Massachusetts Constitution that those are the only situations where you can have universal mail-in absentee voting. In addition, when I've talked to the town clerks about this, it's not certainly there's a challenge with election security, but it's also additional cost. It's a huge cost that's going through the Postal Service with less reliability, and for those reasons, I'm against it.
All right. Lynn, would you like to question Andrew?
I don't think there's anything to question on that.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you both for answering that question. We're going to move on to question number 2, and we'll start with Andrew. Are you in favor of providing driver licenses for illegals as stated by the recently passed Massachusetts legislation, and what would you do to stop it if you were against it?
So I am not in favor of the driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. What would I do directly? We're collecting signatures. I think both candidates are collecting signatures to get this on the ballot in November. I think a clear problem with this is you look at how the RMV, back in 2019, there was an accident in New Hampshire with a Massachusetts driver that killed 7 people. And this gentleman could have had his license suspended if the RMV was competent and capable to go through their records and suspend his license and get him off the road. There could be 7 more people, at least, still alive today. And I think it's clear that the RMV has had a number of challenges in recent years, and they do not have the ability to safely do this legislation.
All right. Would you like to question Andrew?
No, can I just answer the question?
Yes, you may. You want me to repeat it one more time?
No? Good. I have been collecting signatures at grocery stores, people's doors. We've collected already just over 300 signatures, and I am against this bill. Charlie Baker vetoed the bill, and our legislators overrode his veto. There were a couple Republicans that tried to amend the bill and say, at least make the license look different so they can't register to vote. And they voted that down. So the true intention of what they were trying to do is quite obvious. So judging from what I see online and what's happening to the chairman and to Rayla, They're trying to stop it. They even had someone rip up signature sheets, which is illegal, spill things on signature sheets, block people from signing, because they are afraid that the people of Massachusetts do not want this to happen.
All right, so question number 3, we're going to start with Lynne. Now, this question refers to this bill number 584. I don't know if anybody's had a full chance to read it or know what it's about, but as I stated earlier, the high profile of this is basically they want to create a fund for putting critical race theory and diversity and equity education into our school systems at the state level. So the question is, are you in favor or against such a bill?
I am against teaching critical race theory in our public schools. As a teacher at North Middlesex, I was subjected to the worst training I've ever experienced. There are some forms on your tables that we passed out, and I have highlighted areas. I'd like to read some of the stuff we had to deal with. This was a group of alumni that put together this demand of our school committee and our administration. The suggestions in this letter are not exhaustive and were compiled by a group of alumni seeking change within the district. We recognize the limitations of this letter as it was written primarily by cis white people. However, it is our responsibility to use privilege to seek justice. We must recognize and address the systemic oppression and inequality of all marginalized people within our communities. All signatories wish discussions of privilege, oppression, and social injustice have been part of the education within the district. We want to guarantee that current and future NMRSD students are better prepared for global citizenship through an intersectional education on historic and present-day discrimination, privilege, inequality, activist, and ally and accompliship. Require mandatory and ongoing training for faculty and administrators on anti-racism, equity, inclusion, and social justice. We demand a full review and revision of school curricula, policies, and events to ensure inclusive and anti-oppressive values are fully integrated. This includes an audit of all classroom curriculum in order to decolonize our educational practices and our understanding of history. We recommend foundational units on white supremacy and critical and structural racism on the national, state, and local levels. Being careful not to exempt our own communities from this history, include courses focused on, but in no way limited to, critical race theory, Black intellectual traditions, and action civics. Act in solidarity with national movements to reevaluate the role of police in our schools. I had to sit through and listen to how white kids should feel guilty for being white, and we're the most racist country in the world. And my opponent signed this petition and was part of this group.
Andrew, would you like to respond? Or direct a question to her, I should say?
I think I should answer the question and respond all in once. I think that'd be fair. So let's talk about the letter. From the beginning of this campaign cycle, I have always and unequivocally been against critical race theory. Lynne knows this from our first speaking event back in January. Now, I want to read you the first sentence that Lynne chose not to read. We recognize that an open letter will not encompass every individual's viewpoint. That is the first letter. That is the first line. Now, I did sign this, and my intent when I signed this back in 2020, which was a far different time today, was that we can do better. When I went to North Middlesex, and I had classmates who felt that things were falling through the cracks and weren't being taught effectively, and thought that things could be better. And as I've always stated, we need to be talking about hard issues. We need to talk about redlining and the effects from slavery. unquestionably, we need to teach a full comprehensive history. But I do not support, and have never supported, the pendulum swinging so far to the left that it has in our schools. Now, if you think that a signature is what you want to focus on rather than my words, then we have a problem here. Nobody should be discriminated against. And if you felt like North Middlesex was fine the way it was at the time, then I challenge you to talk to some of my classmates that I had in that school who felt differently. And at the beginning of the letter, it says clearly it will not encompass every individual's viewpoints, and unequivocally, I do not support the teaching of critical race theory.
Lynne, if you'd like to have a rebuttal.
Actually, our first event, I believe, was in February, and when Andrew was asked if he agreed with critical race theory, he said he didn't really know what it was. But this form right here sounds like a progressive liberal would sign it, not a Republican. I have some, if I'm not elected, I have some personal concerns reading this letter, because none of us want to be racist or live in a racist world. But you need to know critical race theory is a racist and divisive teaching. And our students, we're making it more divisive and racist by teaching this. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Next, and our fourth and final question, we'll start with Andrew. What is your position about imposing mask mandates and vaccine mandates and business shutdowns due to pandemics or other health emergencies?
Sure, thank you, Dave. I have not, and I do not, and I have never supported government mandates for vaccines and masks. I think it's incumbent on the people to be able to make a decision that's best for them and their families. And in terms of the government shutdown, my biggest problem with the response to COVID has been the shuttering of the U.S. economy and our local economy. My own small business, Bayberry Hill Water Company, the water cooler talk, the infamous water cooler talk in the office place, got shut down. The majority, I just had bought this business out of school, ready to make it my own way, and the economy gets shut down. At no point in our future should we ever shut down the engine of the United States economy, especially our local districts. It's something I would never support.
So Lynne, you can either ask Andrew a question or just move on to the question itself.
I do not believe in vaccine or mask mandates or mandating that businesses be shut down. I own and started from the ground up a business in Pepperell for over 12 years, a successful business. We were demanded to shut down. We still had to pay our lease. But the government offered us no money because we didn't have a payroll. We had subcontractors working for us. We fell through the cracks. I know what it's like to have to struggle through that, and I would not put that on anyone else. As far as vaccine mandates, I have known so many friends, family that have had COVID, recovered, and then were forced to get a vaccine to keep their job. This is the United States of America. I believe in the Constitution. That is wrong.